This is Morning Perfect Base. I'm going to work on my perfect base a little bit every day, and after a few weeks, we're going to see how far we've gotten. Alright, today I'm going to work on building up the walls of the second level a little bit, trying to get some cohesive aesthetic look to things. So let's roll right into it. I have a Feedly now, and it's hard to narrow down articles to talk about. I love brackets. I haven't played Magic in a while, but I love doing brackets for Magic games. So let me do a bracket for all of the news articles I want to do but can't, and just do them by elimination. So, massive solar eruptions probably detonated dozens of US sea mines in the Vietnam War. That's a good get. What's it against? Getting started on the DM's Guild, which is about Wizards of the Coast site which helps dungeon masters publish their own D&D stuff. Let's think it through. Okay, the sun setting off mines could be junk science or clickbait. I don't know space.com well enough to know, but the sun setting off mines, how could that be possible? Induced current from solar flares triggering magnetic sensors. Maybe it caused an electrical fault which sent a signal to detonate the mines. Maybe it kept the US from seeing Vietnamese soldiers who were trying to get rid of the mines by detonating them. Lots of possibilities there. On the other hand, making something that's available to other players is a venue for content creation and distribution, but I'm not a D&D guy, and I'm not about to become one. Sun wins. Battlefield 1 players stop shooting each other for Armistice Day versus how will we know when the world is ending? We're talking yin and yang here, right? Hopefully, if irrelevant versus dour and very, very relevant. Gonna give it to the world ending and just assume Battlefield players are more decent than I originally thought. Chip cards in the US being compromised in the millions versus congressional Democrats' first bill aims to end gerrymandering, increase voter registration, and rein in campaign finance. It's another opposite. Nothing is more boring and frustrating than a Democratic show bill when the Democrats only control one house and no president. On the other hand, the chip cards that I hate aren't actually secure, and that's Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude's worth a lot to me. Let's see, 40 years of icebergs breaking off of Antarctica, and Microsoft Studios acquisitions show how much Xbox has changed. Actually, this one is a both maimed and killed. Let's see, elephants being born without tusks because evolution versus an illustrated tour of Linux history. Elephants in a slam dunk. Should I say slam trunk? Excerpt from The Faded Sky by Mary Robinette Kowal versus the AV Club's This Is All Donald Trump Has Left. Mary Robinette Kowal is a contributor to the Excellent Writing Excuses podcast, even if she is my least favorite part. I do feel obligated as a listener to dip my toe in there and read some of her stuff, and honestly, enough Trump is enough. I do want to read an insightful article about how he is sad now since the election. I want to revel a little bit in the fiction of his misery while we enter 3 unthinkable months of an unthinkable presidency. And by the time this goes up, yes, there will be less than 1 month of that left. Meat-free Ebola burger. Wait, shit. Okay. Meat-free Beyond Burger hits UK restaurants and supermarkets versus the risk of Ebola will spread to Uganda is now very high. I actually kind of want the meat-free Ebola burger. It's just jam-packed Ebola, just dried out and packed hot. Infectious diseases is one of the things that I look for, but so is synthetic meat. Let's be honest, neither of these is a strong draw, and I am picking the burger because I'll feel less bad about dropping it versus whatever's in the next pick. Let's see here. Heat-reducing film could reduce air conditioning costs versus kids can now stream approved audiobooks through Amazon's Free Time Unlimited. Kids and tablets, done. That's my jam. What to trust in a post-truth world versus watch real-life Iron Man with first jetpack launched from the ground. These guys aren't Iron Man, and these are not jetpacks. They're really cool tech, but I'm going to go with post-truth world. Voice tech like Siri and Alexa hasn't found its true calling yet versus VA's software didn't help vets until they were homeless. Homeless vets in a landslide, guys. Democrats vote to probe whether Trump retaliated against CNN and the Washington Post versus what's happening in Florida is a nightmare. 2020 could be so much worse. One is a retread of when Trump blocked a merger between AT&T and Time Warner. It got thrown out in court and they're merging and that's terrible, but did Trump block it as retaliation? I like staying on stories and following up on them. I mean, otherwise, why do they matter? But Florida is the new hotness and it is election related, so Florida in 2020 doomsaying. YouTube CEO says the EU's new copyright regulation is impossible. Versus a report on human content moderators dealing with bullshit. The moderators bit is about the seamy underside of the internet. Could you imagine how much worse stuff is there that we do not see? On the other hand, my schadenfreude for YouTube and billion-dollar companies like Alphabet whining about countries making them do their job responsibly is too good to pass up. I want an entire mug of YouTube tears. Monopoly for millennials versus local racists in Orange, Texas. Wow, okay. Themed monopolies are stupid. Local racists in Southeast Texas advances to the next round just by kind of a default. I'm not even 100% sure how millennial for Monopoly got it. Machine learning systems learning to cheat, or Firefox has a price comparing feature. I don't shop enough to make that a good idea. Firefox tries so hard to innovate and stay competitive. It's the machine learning article. Let's see. Five Nights at Freddy's guys making a AA game versus the U.S. didn't sign a cybersecurity agreement in Paris. I try not to let my expectation of our president being a half-wit stooge let me assume stories about him being a half-wit stooge are intrinsically true, but of course we didn't. Five Nights story, please. A 100,000 router botnet is feeding on a 5-year-old UPnP bug in Broadcom chips versus a deep analysis of Watchmen. Fuck. I mean, okay. Giant botnet in a computer thing I don't know anything about versus social commentary on Watchmen? It's Watchmen though. I mean, I can guarantee it's written so that I can understand it, and I will have so much to rag on if it's bad. Maryland says acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker appointment is unlawful, and Jack Dorsey says a Twitter edit function has to be done the right way. Do not let people edit Twitter. And because that is all I have to say about that, I'll be reading the Substantive Resistance to Trump's latest dangerous move article. Mysterious Google outage that routed traffic through China and Russia versus Valve pays $20,000 to hacker that found a flaw in it. Go in weird Google story with cybersecurity angle. High schoolers throw Nazi salute versus a special report on how skills training alone doesn't help the poor. Nazi salutes is saucier. AT&T CEO, net neutrality and privacy laws, a disaster. Versus redistricting reform in a Democratic House. I feel bad that I keep passing on the meditative policy articles, but the executive schadenfreude is a much bigger driver for me. Let's see, Yanni Varfoukas on the incompatibility of capitalism and democracy versus the Tuesday roundup of the SCOTUS blog. I do want to become acquainted with the SCOTUS blog, but there will be another Tuesday. I'll take articulate expression of democracy versus capitalism, please. Voice of Hal dies versus cost of wind and solar. Yeah, actually, cost of wind and solar. P.S. Hal is dead. Study details toxic particles from 3D printers versus Twitter account outs white people who act black. It's close, but I have friends who have 3D printers, so 3D printers. When trains ran on air versus Magic Arena will let you play with friends. It doesn't already? Fuck Wizards, get your shit together. Taking the air train retrospective. Tencent gets access to China's national citizen database versus supermarket ad banned for being too political goes viral. Fuck, I do want to watch that commercial. But China national database. Britons tell the UK government that the compulsory porn viewing laws requires compulsory privacy standards. No kidding. Versus the market failed rural kids. Poor rural broadband has created a broadband gap. Porn is a fun topic and privacy is a big deal, but education is more fundamental. Colonizing Mars might mean we'll never know if it had its own life versus how many computers are in your computer. Colonizing Mars by a thread because neither one has a really big draw. Wells Fargo, we cannot be sued for lying to shareholders because it was obvious we were lying. Versus Italian prosecutors give up on catching the person who hacked and destroyed our hacking team. Okay, a hacking team getting hacked into oblivion is hilarious, but Wells Fargo are the worst, and there is not enough we can do to understand that. On a side note, obviously I've already done bits on some of the winners of this bracket, so spoilers. PC builders should stock up on parts versus this sensor can detect the molecular makeup of your food. The parts thing is because of the China trade war, so the sensor wins. Rocket Lab's launch versus Chinese AI news anchors. AI news anchors.
I do want to mention that I did say we were going to work on the walls today. I think this counts. We're just putting up the internal structure, generally, of this place. And these half slabs are going to be somewhat efficient material to take up space.
Private space flight is somewhat old hat at this point, and while I don't speak Chinese, I do kind of want to see these AIs fuck up. Netflix's holiday lineup versus everything Xbox announced during XO18. Netflix for the inevitable loss in round 2. 7 best antivirus services for Android versus the Fallout game that time forgot. That's probably Fallout 2, and I own an Android. How Betrayal Legacy tells a story, and a gene-hacking young adult trilogy. Betrayal is my jam, and I love immersion stories. I am super curious about that young adult trilogy. I'm going to stay in my lane, though, and go with Betrayal Legacy. Let's see. What's Void Bastards about versus Tim Blake Nelson and his role in a Watchmen HBO series? We have enough Watchmen. Let's learn about this Void Bastards thing. Teaching robots body language versus artsy 2D PUBG. Jesus, teaching robots. Futuristic pen and online notes versus George R.R. Martin explains why writing The Winds of Winter is so hard. Because writing is hard. Being able to bridge handwriting to digital is kind of a personal interest to me, so we're going with the pen. What your phone is telling Wall Street versus Kotaku's weekly games retrospective. I apparently didn't even write a choice out for this one. Windows promises gamer-centric app store redesign versus video game bug that gives players massive dongs. It's close. I'll be honest with you, it's real close. But I'm gonna go with Windows' constant quest to fuck up a native player base. Google promises navigation without using GPS versus Tucker Carlson and Twitter's silent protest. People shouldn't break into Tucker Carlson's house, period. Google navigation story. But also, that's called a map. Fucking idiots. Round 2. Meat-free Beyond Burger hits UK restaurants. And supermarkets versus Florida is a fucking goddamn. Meat-free Beyond Burger hits UK restaurants and supermarkets versus Florida is a nightmare. 2020 will be worse. Florida beats burgers. Elephants evolving not to have tusks versus this is all Donald Trump has left. Yeah, I did not go with the Mary Romanet Cowald story. Donald Trump wins. Kid-friendly books on Amazon versus CNN sues Trump over removing Jim Acosta. Kid-friendly books. Got to draw the line on politics somewhere. Solar eruptions setting off mines versus how will we know the world is ending? It already is ending. Solar eruptions for round 3. Chip fraud versus Democrats' bill. Chip fraud. VA software and homeless vets versus what to trust in a post-truth world. More whinging about a post-truth world. Homeless vets, that goes the next round. Local racist versus YouTube whining about regulation. The racist is a moron. YouTube schadenfreude. Machine learning cheese versus Five Nights at Freddy's with a AAA game. Deep analysis of Watchmen versus Maryland says Matthew Whitaker's appointment as acting attorney general is unlawful. Whitaker. But I'm going backsies on this if I have to choose one more political article.
Oh shit, fuck.
Kids throwing up Nazi salutes. How a school picture with most of the kids giving a Heil Hitler happened is too fucking insane not to look into. Capitalism is incompatible with democracy versus AT&T CEO hates net neutrality. I'm gonna go AT&T CEO because there's a slim chance they're calling for uniform national standards. I mean, they're not, but 3% chance, okay? 3D printer toxins versus falling renewable costs. I still got those friends with 3D printers, 3D printer toxins. Air trains versus Chinese National Citizens Database. Chinese National Citizens Database. I just gotta know what's up with it. Rural kids market failures in broadband versus contaminating Mars. Still going poor kids. Wells Fargo legal case versus food censor. Wells Fargo legal case. Tech is nice, but probably not that great. Wells Fargo includes corporate dumbassery and legal issues, which are both of interest to me. Netflix lineup versus Chinese AI anchors. Netflix was kind of a predestined loser going into this round. Chinese AI anchors. Android antivirus app versus teaching robots body language. Curious about those robots, but those antivirus apps, while I probably won't ever use them, are something I do want to know about. Betrayal Legacy tells a story versus Void Bastards. Void Bastards is a loser. It's a loser. Reaching for the possibility of emergent storytelling is my choice. Pin That Rise to Digital versus a Kotaku Weekly Games retrospective. Retrospective. The pin has a 50% chance of being advertising, editorial advertising. So we're gonna go and pass on that. Google's Quantum Compass versus Microsoft's store page improvements. Quantum Compass. Curious about how that works. I'm sure the Microsoft thing is boring and it'll either work out or it won't. Round 3, these cuts are going to hurt the worst. I mean, cut the worst until I get to round 4. Google's Quantum Compass versus This Is All Donald Trump Has Left Pass. What's happening in Florida is a nightmare. 2020 will be worse. This is all Donald Trump has left. And Google's Quantum Compass versus Kotaku in this week's game retrospective. What is happening in Florida and Quantum Compass? The Trump article, I know he sucks, but I do care about electoral integrity. There's going to be a Kotaku retrospective next week, isn't there? Amazon's kid-friendly audiobooks versus Betrayal Fallout. Pass. So that means that Amazon's kid-friendly audiobooks is going to go up against 7 Android antiviruses, and Betrayal Fallout Legacy will go up against Mines in Vietnam. So kid-friendly audiobooks and Betrayal Legacy wins those head-to-heads. Chinese AI news anchors, come on, you silly little foreign technology, versus U.S. chip cards being compromised. Fuck. Okay. Chinese news anchors. I will get my corporate schadenfreude from YouTube and AT&T. YouTube CEO whining versus machine learning cheats. Okay. Knowing that this is only going to get harder, pass. YouTube CEO whining versus Maryland says Whitaker's appointment as Attorney General is illegal. And machine learning cheats versus Wells Fargo saying what they did wasn't lying because no one should have believed them. God damn it. Okay, compromise. I pass again, and I talk a little bit about Whitaker. I mentioned earlier that Mr. Conway has said his appointment was illegal because Whitaker is not in a Senate-confirmed position. He's never held a Senate-confirmed position. Maryland's position is the same. Whitaker can't respond to their suit over the government's defense. Well, I mean, lack of defense of the Affordable Care Act. In fact, under the Attorney General Succession Act, the Deputy Attorney General must serve as acting Attorney General. I think that is the guy by the name of Rod, am I pronouncing this right? Rod Rosenstein? The guy who's won up the chain of command from Mueller. YouTube CEO whining and passing the second one. Machine learning cheats versus rural poor kids and the failure of the market. And Wells Fargo versus Nazi salute kids. Fuck. Machine learning and Wells Fargo. Sorry, kids. You get an article about audiobooks on Amazon and shit about YouTube sucking. Kids care about YouTube, right? China's National Citizen Database and AT&T hates net neutrality. 3% chance. Going to go with the Citizens Database. 3D Particles get a bye into round 3. And round 4 is going to be our last round because I feel at that point that actually doing the bracket will take up as much time as reading the articles I'm eliminating. Round 4. YouTube whining versus 3D Printer Toxins. 3D Printer Toxin. Friends over Schadenfriends. Quantum Compass versus Betrayal Legacy. Fuck, it is a quantum compass. It's a quantum accelerometer, I'm betting. A very accurate inertial guidance system with lasers and shit. They're currently pretty big. Betrayal Legacy. Amazon adds kid-friendly audiobooks to Free Time Unlimited versus What's Happening in Florida is a Nightmare. 2020 could be so much worse. Florida. Chinese Citizens Database versus Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo. And the final is a three-way between Chinese AI anchors, good evening and hasta la vista, machine learning cheats, and VA leaving people homeless. Machine learning cheats and VA people leaving homeless. Nazi salute story. Actually, I'm bringing the Nazi salute story back. I'm not just going to skip on that. That is a rapid-fire editorial process, which I hope has been illuminating for you. It has been cathartic for me. The articles I haven't read in previous episodes, I'm not going to read. This article, this write-up's going to go away, and I'm going to start writing new stuff. So, until I get a good sign-off,